sleepable size, like a little full or twin, whatever. You may not need that. Any room we take from here gives you more room over here for the bed or walking, sitting, whatever. So keep that in mind. And of course, there's storage under both of these, so it's nice to have that storage. There's also cabinets above and a light. All this is entirely up to how you want it done. I'm going to swing over here before I go back up here. This is what they would call the gaucho bed. There's a piece of plywood with legs that sits on top of this that's the same width and length. And when it's a couch, it's pushed up, and there's a back and a cushion. You sit and you hang out and do what you got to do. That board slides out to almost here, almost the entire open space we currently have, to give you a nice twin size bed. A nice, think of this doubled basically. So a nice big bed. It's not typically left out during the day, but if you're traveling single, you could, or you could just kind of push it back. This is where you may have some options too. Do you want a permanent bed? Never folds into a couch, and then a smaller dinette? Or do you like the idea of having a couch area during the day when you're not sleeping? It's entirely up to you. We like the idea of having the option. I like to be able to, I don't want my bed out all the time, but that's just me, and we have kids and dogs. Okay, cabinets above. We may or may not go back with both of these, depending on what you do here, because we want this to be as open as possible. And then, again, this is that little, of course they give you a mirror, but this is the little countertop. Keep in mind, we wouldn't be keeping any of this. This is just the way it's laid out currently. I happen to like everything from sort of here up. I think it's smart and makes sense. We'd replace it all with the birch paneling you chose. You'll make a decision on whether you want the cabinetry to be painted or you want it to be birch as well. And then same thing with the back and cushions. That's further down the road. Okay, this is really neat, but I think it's completely impractical for you. It is a folding. It bifolds, so it like folds once and then sticks up here. It's like a bunk. When it's not being used, it's up against the ceiling, and then when you need it, you fold it down. It's super cool. I love it. And if I were using this for my family, I'd keep it because we have kids. But first of all, you can see how narrow this is. It's only for a kid. It's a small, tight space. Very claustrophobic. That's why they put these windows up here, to make it a little less. What I would think makes sense here for you is an open shelf. Maybe cabinets with doors, but open shelving makes the most sense for two reasons. One, you don't want to eat up headspace for your dinette seating and your bed, but you don't want it to be wide open either, right? Make it practical. So I'd probably do an open shelf up here, maybe 10 inches wide, just enough to put bric-a-bracs or knickknacks. But this would not stay unless you tell us, I absolutely want that bunk. But you can see if I step back, when the bunk is fully engaged, there's no walking past it. You could sit here still comfortably, and you could sit here, but that space is now kind of unusable. All right, enough about the bunk. Let me swing back. Storage under here. One access door. Right now there's a water tank in here. I don't know if I can get my finger in there. Anyway, there's a big onboard water tank. That's another decision to be made. If you're never going to be boondocking meaning you don't have access to water, electricity, some of these features are unnecessary. We've already decided we're not going to use propane, right? You don't need it. You don't want it. So there won't be anything on board that needs propane. Well, if you're going to be connected to shore water or a faucet at the campsite, I don't see the point in replumbing a water tank. For one thing, we'd have to replace it because it's 55 years old. You don't want to drink out of it. So it's a new tank, all new water lines, and a water pump somewhere in between to get it there. It's impractical to me. We've never used, I take that back. One time in Colorado, we were camping without shore water and we used our onboard. That's it. But that's your decision. So I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I'm just kind of thinking practically. Okay, I'm going to do another kind of sweep through the camper. Let me point out some of the things while I'm doing this that you probably see, or I'll explain what's going on. Campers leak in 3 different places. Every window, every door opening, and the corners. That's just what they do, especially after all the years. That's what's happening here. This back is completely rotted in from the top down. So there's leaks in these these seams. We knew that. There seems to be a little leaking around a couple of the windows, but overall, not as much as we expected. And of course, it won't matter. It's all going to be gutted and replaced, but I'm just kind of pointing out the good things. The ceiling, for example, is still very much intact. Now, that's just that kind of 70s style paneling with a veneer on it. That won't be there. This will all be new, but those are all good signs to me. There's no water damage up here or along the water of the ceiling. That's exciting for me to rebuild it because I know it's in good shape. The flooring is what you would imagine it would be. It's a 70s style vinyl sheet flooring. We can put down whatever you decide you want. Obviously, this will be taken down to the frame. We'll put new supports, new plywood, then new flooring, and then we start building cabinets, just kind of like a house, and we go up from there. Decisions that'll have to be made early will be layout. You know, what's staying, what's going. That way I'll know what to budget for and kind of how to design it and build it. Appliances, you'll need to decide. Refrigerators, right? Do you want a full? Do you want a smaller? And then do we have the space for a full? Because that's still a little narrow. We could always put it back here, but then we're blocking a window. So there's always things to think about in a camper. So think about that. Right now we're planning on doing 110 electricity only. No 12 volt backup. Again, if you're plugged in, you don't need it unless you tell me otherwise. There'll be a vent central here. We're thinking with a fan in case you have a cool day, but you're like us, you're in Florida, we're in Mississippi. It's not very often you can open the windows and enjoy the cool breeze. But when you can, you want to. So we'll be replacing both of these, of course, and we're going to put vents back in with fans, at least in the bathroom, to get the humidity out of there. But anyway, I think I'm rambling now. So this is where we are. Need to be thinking about kind of how you'd want to make it yours. And then I'm going to get started on gutting it anyway because that's got to be done. Doesn't matter really what. It's just that when we get to the stage of plumbing, I'll need to know. Yeah, and that's the next thing. Be thinking about your toilet. What kind of toilet do you want? Do you want it to drain into a black tank, which may not already be on board? Or do you want to do a composting or self-contained? Let me step out. Oh.